I'm responsible for enough number one tune around here, play, mash up the world, you know? Enough number one tune. We're not going to call no name, see? But yeah, we want to big up our brother Beenie Man anywhere there in the world, see? And this one is called The True and Living God. The true and living God is whom he said I must see him as. And when my spirit searches his works, I know I'm not just dreaming of the true and living God. The true and living God. A willing soul seek the deep things of, and guided by the person of the Holy Spirit, I'm sure my soul is not being robbed from the true and living God. For how can I trust my faith to something that cannot see? I mean, why must I let the blind lead me? For isn't it written that in him dwells the fullness of the Godhead bodily, the inseparable Trinity, the true and living God, the infallible, ineffable God, became flesh and dwelt among man. And though our eyes have seen, we are being guarded for the true and living God. The true and living God created man in the image of him. May I be bound to be thankful. He favored me by grace to find him, the perfect King of Kings, the true and living God. Give God. And like we say, we come to share a few of what's on our mind, you know? So, the one you rightfully name, What's on My Mind. I want to know what's on your mind. The world keep asking me all the time. But do the world really wants to know? Or will they try to stop me in my flow? Still, here are a few lines of some of what's on my mind. Wars and crimes. The majority is broke and hungry in so-called prosperous times. We having our past, future, presence, and essence defined by bogus blacks, whites, and Jewish exploiters in the new times. Misguided characters aspiring to a false standard of beauty invented not with them in mind. And our concept of beauty is dictated by bloodsuckers that undermined the true essence of beauty that the Creator designed. Cover girls are promotively admired, not seen as truly concubines. I mean, what do they cover? What's on my mind? The youths are being fed gangsters and pro-athletes as role models instead of Christ. Being victims of promoted themes such as, I want to be like Mike. Feel free to say I am mad for wanting the youths to be like God, instead of having their future and souls consigned to a cause within a system so filthy like slime. What's on my mind? Truth, cultural, and natural things are always in utter decline, while ignorance covering the earth contrary to the vision of the man who is divine. International murderers fulfilling their sacrifices of being fully responsible for billions dying, while their politically controlled corporate media stay lying. You know, somehow I think they'd rather me be confined. Still they indulge the thought of knowing what's on my mind. But do you really want to know? Or if I get deeper, you'll try to stop me in my flow? What's on my mind? What's on yours though? Give that. Yeah, so I want to know, we'll take it in a little slightly different angle, you know? I want to know is about a professional dancer. Stay with me. The professional dancer. She moves like the wind, sliding and gliding across the parquet floor. Freely as the breeze she floats, twirling and whirling as she pauses to tease even husbands who are stimulated for more. The garment adorning her frame curves about the body as the imagines of the designer's mind. Though, whatever she wears, her body credits to looking fine. Her smile is the true radiance of any award, yet she remains unaware. And any good compliments in her regards, she prefers not to hear. Many utter the sentiments of her dancer's stance, which she acknowledges only with an evasive quirk. She blends in with the music as though a phrase in the rhythm, and slowly leaving different parts of her body unhidden. How beautiful a creation beneath the schism. With her in mind, Solomon may have written. Her hands, delicate and fragile, caresses the air as she motions to a fool. Her face is as the chiseled workings of a carver's tool. Yet sadly, the stare from her eyes is that of a lost child, so scared, innocent, and in desperate need of rules. Still, every eye watches her erotic and graceful movements with greed, fantasy, and carnal lust. Not caring if she's content, all is tempted to touch. She possesses a radiant light in the midst of power and might, traveling through an experience in an effort to cover her fright, with hardly any resistance to these aggressive appetites. A professional dancer she is, dancing with the moon by night. So yeah, one more?
Yes, one more.
One more?
One more.
What do you mean? Give thanks, Wanda.
Oh, in the word.
Conscious brother. Conscious brother walks with his head up high. His pains assured, yet his aims certified. Conscious of his adversities, he struggles daily with the world he encounters. And at sundown, still, he remains unconquered. Wisdom he spurs from a soul untainted, knowing that his destiny is of his own making. His sustenance is of the old order, mysteries of wisdom from the foremothers and fathers, fertilized. Yet from this wealth he's oftentimes shunned. His Ethiopic sister beside the king in his heart, he protects with his very thought, fully embracing her proprieties, because like her, his mother battles the backlash of controversial societies. His kindred, to them fatherhood he mentally cements, doing so waiting on no one else. To the reaffirmation of the black family, he commits himself.